folks, I want to show you probably one of the coolest little selection tricks that we have available to us here inside of Elements. It's not actually with a selection tool. It comes after we make a selection. But starting in Photoshop Elements 9, we got layer masks. So version 9 and version 10 both have layer masks. And because they have layer masks, we can use a really cool little trick to help make our selections more realistic. What I want to do here is I want to take these people and put them onto a different background. So it's pretty popular. People want to move backgrounds and things like that. I want to show you one of the ways that you can help make that happen. All right, so we're going to start off here. And so we actually don't get to the selection trick until the end, but you can watch the whole process unfold. So I'm going to take my quick selection tool. Okay, quick selection tool, you can hit the letter A. Take my quick selection tool. I'm basically painting, just like a brush, I'm painting a selection onto the photo. All right. The more I click, everywhere I click, I start to add to the selection. If you want to take away from the selection, hold down the Option key on the Mac, Alt key on the PC, goes into minus or subtract mode, and you can take away, and then you can click to add again. You can see it kind of almost learns from itself too. But we got to zoom in here. Let's go in here and refine it. Before we go any further, let's get it as close as possible. So I'm going to use the left bracket key because the selection, the quick selection tool is just a brush, but it's a smart brush. I'm going to make my brush really small with the left bracket key. Hold down Option or Alt again to go into subtract mode. I'm going to go around any of the places that I don't want selected. Okay, we'll get its ear. Option or Alt click out there just so I only have the hat selected. All right. It's selected everything in here, so I'm going to Option or Alt click, and let's just get away with get everything in here gone. We don't need any of that stuff. Okay. And then just click again. If you take your hand off of the Option or Alt button, then that way you're back into add mode, and I can add his ear back in, which is always a good thing. Everybody should have their whole ear. All right. So we're looking pretty good there. Just brush right along the top of his hat here. Looking good. Get the rest of his ear. I know if this seems laborious, then let me tell you, changing a person's background is not for you, because I promise you it is not an easy task. All right, and finish up right on the hat. I think we're looking pretty good. So before I go on, what I usually do, we're missing part of the ear. I'm glad I checked. Before I go on, what I usually do is hit Refine Edge. That's always going to be active when you have the quick selection tool active here, and you make a selection. Hit Refine Edge. I will generally smooth by about 10. It just smooths off smooths off the jagged edges of my selection. I'll feather it by 1, which just softens the edge, and contract expand just by -5 here. Okay, and I pretty much use those same settings every time I make a selection. It just kind of helps finesse the edge a little bit so that it's not quite as harsh of an edge when we go and try to paste them somewhere else. So I'm going to click OK. So that you barely would even see it, but it did smooth out the edge for us. Next thing we want to do is I want to add a layer mask to this layer to hide the background. I can't do it on a background layer because it's locked. So I just double click. New layer box opens, just click OK, and then click the Add Layer Mask icon right here. So now all I have is them in front of a transparent background. Okay, and they're ready. They're ready for us to take them and drag them into another background. So I'm going to do that. Let's get the other image on screen here. Okay, and I'm going to tear this off of the dock so that we don't see it anymore. And now I can see both images on screen. I'm just going to click and drag, and it puts them into the other one. We'll go into free transform mode. Command or Control T, and I'll just bring the corner in and just position them right under a new image. Press enter, return, we're good. This image over here, we don't even need it anymore. We can close it. They're not linked together. We're done with it. Now, what do we have over here? Well, let me zoom in and see. On the surface, it actually looks pretty good, and it is pretty good. But what you should be able to see here is the slightest bit of glow around the outline here. See that little fringe? See the fringe? You can see it moves right along with the image. You're not going to see it so much up here because it's darker. But we're going to start to see, you could see the fringe right over here. I'm really going to zoom in because I want to show you that little line. Okay, that's what we're looking at here. That little fringe traveled along with our image. I'm going to press Command or Control J because part of what this is when you watch this video on screen, it kind of gets compressed. So I really want you to see the fringe. So now when I duplicate the layer, you should really see that fringe, that edge that goes along here. Okay, that's the surefire way we know something was faked. Okay, it's got a bright edge. You might not know exactly what it is. The people that might see it might not know exactly what it is, but it's a telltale sign. Something raises a flag that says this is fake. Okay, so we need to fix this. All right, so the way that we're going to fix it, you can see it right along his shirt too. So let me get rid of the duplicate layer because that's not really there. I just did that to magnify it for you. What you're going to do is click on the layer mask itself. Okay, so that selects the layer mask, and then this is why we need elements 9 or 10, because we need the layer mask. We go over here, we select the brush tool. Normally, if I paint in normal mode, okay, I can set my foreground color to black, and I can start to paint out any of the areas that got selected that we didn't want. Even the little fringe here, you can see, I mean, I can erase the whole thing, which I don't want to, but I could painstakingly go in and try to get rid of that fringe, and it'll work good on especially areas that weren't selected very well. I might want to use this method. Okay, but here's the trick. If I change this from normal to overlay, watch what happens. I'm going to go to an area that has a fringe like his ear, and watch this. All I have to do, I don't have to be meticulous, I don't have to be selective. All I'm going to do is click and paint, and I'm getting rid of the fringe. Watch, I'm going to do before and after. Before, after. One more time. Paint. Before, after. Okay? Before and after. Look at the difference. And look at my brush. That's the big thing here. My brush, I don't care if it goes over the skin, because I know, because I'm in this overlay blend mode and I'm painting on the layer mask, all it's doing is looking at the very, very edge. It's preserving everything else so I don't have to be selective about it. I'll just come over here. Here's another area. Paint right over. You might not see it happen, but watch. Before, after. See how the fringe just goes away, even though I didn't get meticulous and make my brush really, really tiny, and it'll just save you so much time, and it's just a way to go in there and just totally get rid of that fringe, which again is our surefire way, our sure telltale sign, one more time, before, after, our telltale sign that something was fake, that this person was placed onto a different background. That little fringe is your dead giveaway that has occurred. So just remember, use the overlay mode. If you have a large area, then you want to just go back over here to normal, and you can paint away and you can fix your layer mask. But when you want to get detailed and you have that little fringe that just kind of sticks out and you know something's not right with it, change it to overlay mode, click over here on your layer mask, and just start to paint with black or white, just depending on what your image is. If we're going to hide it, you want to paint with black. Okay? If part of it was hidden away already, then you could paint with white, and it'll bring back the edge. You can start to build things back up. But most of the time, you just want to get rid of that fringe. You're going to paint with black on top of the layer mask. Trust me, guys, it works great as long as you got version 9 or 10. Just one of the best selection little tricks that we have available to us.